Right gang, back again and back working on the GT750. No Kieran today, just me again, but it's a fairly simple job we're doing, so hopefully we won't need him. I'm just going to do an oil and filter change today. If you've done it before, you won't need this. If you've not done it before, maybe it'll be helpful. Either way, thanks for watching, stick around, we'll see how we get on. First things first then, we need to warm up the oil that's in the bike. So we're going to turn it on and run it for maybe 5 minutes. What this does is it just thins the oil out so it's easier to drain, and it also picks up any particles, any crap in there that you don't want in there, so that when you drain the oil, hopefully they'll come out at the same time. Back in the garage then, the bike's on the centre stand. This is the levelest ground we've got around here, which is important for when you're draining the oil out. So the engine here is warm but not red hot. When the oil comes out, it's going to be about the same temperature as the engine, so if the engine is red hot to the touch, the oil is going to be red hot and you might get burned. So just be careful and wait until the engine is warm but not hot. Okay, we need to drain out the old oil. So we're at the front of the bike here, as you can see. I have my trusty washing up bowl to catch the old oil, and I'm going to remove the sump plug, which is about here underneath. It's a 17mm fitting on it, and it's about level with this bolt just here. There is another 17mm fitting back here, that's for the oil filter housing, but this one first. Well, here's an interesting camera angle. You get to see right underneath the bike, and you get to see all the rust that's on my exhaust. So please excuse that. I just wanted to show you this 17mm sump plug, which is this one just here. I'm going to slacken that one off a little bit. I have already done that. It shouldn't be too tight. And then I can get the catch pan under there and remove this. Can find it. Where's it gone? There it is. I'm going to remove that by hand and hopefully not get covered in oil. There we go. So there it is. That's the old oil draining out. And that's the sump plug that I've accidentally just dropped into it. Oh well, we'll fish that out. The oil's draining out there. I've come over to the other side of the bike, the right side of the bike. I'm just going to remove the filler cap here. And what that means is that air can get into the top of the engine, which just sometimes helps that oil to drain out of the bottom. There's the oil draining out then. There are a few drops still coming out, so we'll leave that a while longer. I managed to fish out the sump plug, get that cleaned up. When all the oil's out, I'm going to pop that back in, and it wants to be 27 pounds-foot of torque, it says. So I might get the torque wrench out, or I might just guess. If you are just guessing, it wants to be sort of tight, not overly tight. I know that's not a great description, but that's the best you're going to get. Right, well, we're fiddling around underneath the bike and got the sump plug back in there. You can see I've tried to tidy that up as best I can. That's all tightened down. We're going to move over and do the oil filter now. So it's got its own housing, which is that one there, and again that's a 17mm fitting. Time to remove the oil filter then, and I have loosened this 17mm nut that's back here. I'm going to continue to take that off. The housing here where the oil filter lives is full of oil, so this is probably going to get quite messy. So just be aware of that when it comes to taking your own off. As I've loosened that bolt, oil has started to come out from all around there, so I'm doing the best I can to catch it in the washing up bowl. I might just leave that to dribble as is for a while until I take the housing, the plate off the bottom altogether. as you can see, it is raining oil. The oil's still dripping, but it's slowed down a little bit, so I might try and take the bottom off this housing and get the oil filter out. I'm just going to spin this and probably get covered in oil. Here it comes then. Sometime later. There it goes. And there's the old oil filter. And look at the state of it. It's absolutely disgusting. That's what we've fished out then, the old oil filter. We'll just disassemble that. So that just lifts off there. There's a rubber sealing ring in there. We've got quite a lot of oil in there that needs to be emptied out, and this spring, and there's also another rubber little ring there, so we'll investigate and clean that up, and I'll get back to you. Right, cool. So I've cleaned everything up and this is what I have found. There's the housing which goes in at the bottom, and then next there is this cup thing that goes in there, and then you've got a spring which sits on there, and then I found this plain washer which just sits there. So we need the new oil filter now, which is here, HF401 on the high flow ones, and here it is. What I do sometimes, and trying to make more of a habit of it, is to write the date of the oil change and the mileage it was changed at. I will do that in some paper notes that I have, but if for any reason somebody in the future is changing the oil filter here, they'll be able to see without any further paperwork when it was last done. So that just sits on here. That's all back together now then. I needed both hands to do that, to get past the rubber sealing O-ring there. But yeah, she's all back together and ready to go back on the engine. So I'm going to fit it underneath. It's just the reversal of the removal process, and I'll get back to you in a minute. We've got that housing back on there now. That 17mm fitting just there, the manual says that wants to be 14.5 pound-feet of torque, which is really not very much at all. So rather than over tighten that, I did get the torque wrench out, and I've done that to 14.5 pound-feet. While I had the torque wrench out, I did do the sump plug just to make sure that was 27 pound-feet, which it was, so we're all good to go now. Time to fill her up then. She wants 10W40 4-stroke motorcycle engine oil. This is part synthetic. That is the oil that the manual specifies, and everyone on the 550 and 750 owners group seems to agree with that, so that's what I'm going to go for. It says she will need 3.5 litres, which includes the oil that would have been in the old oil filter. What I will do to start with, I will put about 2.8, maybe 3 litres in there. I'll start the bike, I'll run it for a few minutes just to circulate the oil into the new filter. Then I'll shut her off, let that settle for a while, and then using the sight glass, where's it gone? Down there, I'll just check the oil level and top it up to where it should be. First litre then, down the hatch. Second litre. Now I'm doing about 700 ml. Right, I've got about 2.7 litres of oil poured in there. I'm going to start the bike up now and run it for 2 or 3 minutes just to circulate the oil into the new filter. Then I'll shut it off and let it settle and see where the level is. It's a good opportunity to do a little bit of tidying up while I am waiting. So I run the engine for 5 or 6 minutes just to circulate that new oil, then shut it off, let the oil level settle back down again. That brought us to the bottom of the sight glass. So I added another 500ml, which has brought us about 2/3 of the way between minimum and maximum. That's enough for a run on the bike, so I'll go and have a run on the bike, really circulate that new oil, then overnight I'll let the level properly settle down to where it should be, and from there I'll top up to the maximum mark. Well, there we are, ladies and gents. That was an oil and filter change on a Kawasaki GT750. I've had a look underneath the bike, there are no drips or anything, so I think that's a job and we are good to go. It's a nice evening, so I'm going to go out for a ride, and I'll keep my eye on the oil level for the next day or two just to see where that finally settles. And that's that. So I hope this video was useful to you. If it was, remember to like, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.